All right.
So where you want to start
Graham,
today?
I think that the name Corner Club
Okay.
is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then I can go in to the Facebook group
Mm-hmm.
and change that from the Heeltoe Corner
Yeah.
to Heeltoe's Corner Club.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it'll maybe draw a connection between
Yeah.
what we're trying to achieve
There's
here.
continuity.
Yeah. Like, I think there's a community angle that we want to dip into,
Mhm.
but also this should be pretty free form, you know, like a personified version of what might happen on Facebook
Yeah, like a forum, like a chat on a forum.
with control.
Yeah, yeah, with the ability to control it a little.
Right. So here we're tentatively episode 2 of Heeltoe's Corner Club.
Yes. Should we give an intro? Just like a hello and welcome, like that kind of thing.
All right. Yeah. Here we are. Hello and welcome to Heeltoe's Corner Club. We are broadcasting on YouTube and soon to be on podcast. And it's Marcus DiSabella from Heeltoe Automotive, Graham Dale from Minute Rice Channel, and we're just having some car conversations, you know, or automotive industry, I should say, aftermarket industry, just automotive lifestyle, the auto scene. I hate the term, the scene,
Yeah.
but it really is kind of a
It is
scene.
a bit of a scene. It's a social scene, social circle. You can frame that more pleasantly, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, well, you know, the funny thing about it is it's all about cars, and the cars bring people together.
Yes.
And, you know, you get all these people with such a wide array of background, experience,
Yeah.
knowledge, upbringing,
And,
you know, regionality. Like, there's so many different flavors people bring to the automotive
Yeah.
community pot. But when we go out in the world, all we've got is like the car.
yeah.
You know, so somehow the car is supposed to express all of this stuff, but really when then you go to a car show, car meets or something like that, the people is really where you start to have fun.
Yeah, and I mean, overwhelmingly in the years that I spent covering events, it's like that's the real reason why people get so enthused about modifying their cars. Is like some of it, of course, comes down to your own personal driving experience, but community was the thing that kept people showing up at these events. And really, it's like we've all had this experience. We have loved ones or family members who we try and explain why we're excited about buying this part or whatever, or why we think this would be a better decision than that, and they just totally glaze over, and they're just like, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot understand
Yeah.
this thing with the car parts.
Exactly.
It's such a waste of money.
It's like, listen to my poetry I wrote in Pig Latin. It's like, great, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy
I'm
that
glad
you did that.
Some people are into cars and some people aren't.
Yeah.
But you know what? As a general, like, Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's love for the car
Definitely.
on some
Yeah.
level with most people.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't think very few people really hate cars.
Actively hate cars. Well, in Portland, you could find more than a few.
I'm sure you could find a lot
Yeah.
of them in many cities
You-
like
you
that.
could.
Portland for sure.
But in communities, every time that you go to a meet or you go to like a show or something like that, you meet people that actually give a damn about what suspension you put on your car,
Yeah.
or why you made this choice, or you bought this thing, or you painted it this way, or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So it's very welcoming. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I think I try to do is nurture that thing that people have towards their car, because we understand that it's not just buying parts for a car. There's an emotional reaction that happens when the car part is purchased, when it's received. Open it up, check it out. The euphoria of all the likes and comments that you get in social media when you post up a picture,
Yeah.
and then you go and put it on your car. Presumably that goes well, but that's not always the case.
Yeah, well, and even if it doesn't go well, that's where you turn to your community again. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't know how
for
many
support.
times. Yeah, I don't know how many times I have gone. Well, I mean, back in the day when I was on 8th Civic, I had an FA5, and it was just like, what the f*** is happening? Why is it doing this? Why
Yeah.
isn't it doing that?
Yeah.
How do I take this out or put this in or whatever? And yeah, the community was always where you turn to.
But you get this thing in the community too, where you don't exactly know who everybody is.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could be getting great advice from somebody who's totally ignorant.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But so then it ends up not being really great advice, or what I found, at least in the earlier days of online communities, most of the people that were involved, they were car people, but more than that, they were tech people.
Yeah.
Because most people weren't really on the internet like that in the late 90s, early 2000s. Most of the people were people who were youthful, tech-savvy IT people, a lot of folks. So then they have their own preconceptions about how automotive logic and things work that actually, if you have a background in cars, you could see where the flawed thinking is in the common, common sense doesn't apply. And really smart people could get things very wrong.
Yeah, well, and everyone has their specialty too, where it's like, I had the fortune of meeting and making friends with Vit Viper, the famed Honda tuner, and I met him through an online forum. And when it comes to tuning, like, he was, a maverick. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he came from an IT background very much. But, if I asked him about suspension geometry and stuff, I'm sure he could weigh in on it, but he didn't have the same kind of sway. Yeah, exactly. He didn't have the same pool of knowledge in his background, which is why you're sort of an interesting character, Marcus, because you have a really pretty broad sense of knowledge. Because, like, I think
that comes from the training at the Honda dealership.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because a lot of different car brands, if you work at the dealer, they would have different people that different jobs would go to. But with Honda, everybody does everything except for bodywork, right?
Yeah.
But the same technician might do a timing belt job or an engine overhaul or an alignment or brakes, or dig around trying to fix an electrical thing on the inside with the radio. There wasn't a line drawn around the type of jobs that people would do. More experienced, better technicians would get better paying jobs.
Yeah.
But not necessarily all within one focus of the automotive. So being from a dealership in terms of apprenticeship training, which I don't have a ton, but I did have some, and it was really kind of broad. So that plus the schooling that I've had gives me an ability to make up an answer for just about anything. Well,
Well, and you've no doubt had a lot of experience just in the car scene and, modifying cars.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Bumping into things on your own.
Right, having gone through a number of different cars and projects and things. Which I guess brings us to the topic that we aimed to talk about today, which is a question that you kind of casually tossed out last week.
Yeah, which I do frequently. I'm always kind of like, I'm sure that Marcus has gone down this road before me, so I'm always happy to hear his input on things. But yeah, you're referring to the paint question.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit of background. I have at this point, quite badly neglected 2013 Lancer Evolution 10 that I've put a lot of parts into, and it still needs some elbow grease there, but the paint has begun to degrade to the point where I'm just starting to look at it and go, I don't think this is a cut and buff.
What color is it?
It's like a kind of glitter black. Metallic black. And, some of the body panels aren't so bad, but I'm seeing little tiny bubbles forming in certain spots. Some clear coats going in other spots.
Sort of failing. Does it live outside?
No, it mostly lives in the garage, but the prior owner, I bought it with like 70, 80,000 miles, and the prior owner just rode it hard and put it away. It was not in good shape when I got it, and I kind of foolishly believed that I could just rejuvenate it. But at the time, I just didn't have the
kind of like what's going on with your Fiesta right now.
Yeah, that I feel like
I like that we follow we have like a pattern.
Well, I think every car guy ends up in that loop where they're like, no, it'll just be like a couple things and then it'll be perfect. And
my best car is the bone stock F-150.
Seriously, I recently bought a truck because I was just like, I need something that I just can't molest the same way. Because if I can screw with it, I will screw with it. It's like that itch, like that mosquito bite. You can't help but just sit there and pick at it.
It's kind of like, for me, it's the NSX right now.
Yeah.
I just really don't plan on doing anything to it. But anyway.
You were considering paint on the NSX.
Yeah, I was, but I drive it too much, so I don't want it to be too nice. Until I go put it away. When parts get too hard to find to replace, then I'll
Then it's a showroom car,
But you want to refinish this Evo 10.
I'm curious about it, I'm just like, what are the methods? What is the ballpark,
Right.
And it's been hard to find straight information about that.
Yeah, that's because there really isn't any.
Great.
Yeah. Body repair.
Yeah.
I like to say like body repair and alignments are two things where everybody does different grades of acceptable and below.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really hard to find top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a super anal person when it comes to attention to detail and everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see the flaws. I
Yeah.
accept flaws.
Yeah, you're not
right?
blind. You just go, okay.
I know what's
Yeah.
going on here. Well, unfortunately, bodywork is one of those things where I have a hard time,
Yeah.
right? Because I can see the flaws and I just don't understand why they're there. Well, so the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, there's no body repair that you're talking about, no panel replacement.
No, I don't think. I mean,
Pull and dents is different.
Yeah, there's like a couple little divots here
Yeah.
and there, and I had considered, of course, because if you're going to invest the money in paint, any kind of body work that you're going to put on, carbon fiber or fiberglass or whatever, like I know that's the time to do it prior to paint. So I'd considered things like that, but I don't think I want to go super crazy on it.
Yeah, it's probably better just to keep it normal.
Yeah, I'm thinking keep it normal and then just put like a carbon fiber lip kit on it or something.
That's cool.
Like a rear diffuser, under body diffuser.
So, paint. The
Yeah.
first thing that comes to mind is a body shop,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is probably the last place that wants to do it.
Yeah, well, and I discovered that. I called a couple of body shops, and they were like, "We don't do that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What the f*** do you mean you don't do that?" Like,
What do you mean? You
yeah,
don't paint
you
cars
said-
and
you
that's
said-
all you do?
Yeah, you only have 2 words in your fucking name, and it's body and paint. And I would have assumed that half of that was true.
Yeah.
At least.
Nope.
Yeah, no, they just...
No, they
And-
don't. And the reason why is
Yeah.
because they're there to fix cars that have been wrecked.
Yeah.
They're there to fix cars, and really, they're really not there to work for me and you. They're there to work for insurance companies.
Yeah.
Which the unfortunate reality is, because so many of these accidents happen, they're high dollar jobs, thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Even for a minor job, it could be $2,000-$3,000.
Yeah.
Somebody's insurance is going to pay for that, right? And the insurance is beholden to their customers, right? So the insurance puts pressure on the body shops to get the throughput and meet a cost. But really, they need them to meet the throughput. They don't want to send them jobs and have the body shop say, "Oh, we're too busy right now."
Mm-hmm.
That won't fly. So they can't have their shop clogged up with,
Bizarre custom jobs.
with a custom job.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the custom jobs take more time.
Mm-hmm.
They're non-standard jobs,
Yeah.
right? So there's no manual on how to do, panel gaps on a show car.
Yeah.
But the manual that's very clear that Honda gives to the body shop how to fix a car.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how many layers down are they going to go? And it's all prescribed. The times are all figured out. The part numbers are all figured out. Everything, they know exactly how much it's going to cost before you even get there. That's what the estimators do. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, when we try to get into that system and say, hey, like my TSX, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got this TSX, I got a body kit, right? And I want a color change.
Yeah.
I got lucky.
You got in
I
a
got
standard
lucky.
body and paint place?
I went to a great shop that's local here, and they had just moved into a much larger shop. So it was like a small operation that they were trying to go 10x on, but they were only at 2x when I found them.
So they were like, sure, fine.
Exactly.
Fill a bag.
I mean, they had like one painter and a giant shop, right?
Okay.
So I'll get you some pictures of the shop where it was in. So they had a really brand new state of the art. I got lucky. Okay, the
Sounds like
paint
it.
booth was great, but they took the job, and I had done a lot of work to the car to begin with. I said, hey, look, I'm going to strip all the moldings.
Oh,
I'm going to strip all the headlights.
very nice.
I'm going to pull the glass. I'm going to pull the all door
Kinda
handles.
everything. Yeah.
Everything's going to be off the car,
Yeah.
right? So then that way, all they have to do is prep it and paint it. And then, there was more to it than that.
Sure.
But it's not, if you bring them a car that's complete together and then say, oh, I want you to do this job, they're just so much more work. goes into pulling all that stuff off.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always kind of try to throw that out there and be like, hey, I will
What if?
tear this car apart for you. You know, you just have to worry about the paint, and then I'll assemble after.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that helps, right? That they'll start thinking about it after you say that, right? But you know, because nobody really wants to tear. Those parts take up a lot of space.
Yeah. No
you know,
doubt.
whatever. So anyway, I was able to do that. Cool, I have the garage space for it.
Yeah,
It worked out really pretty well, and it was still a pretty expensive paint job. I think I paid. I feel like it was like $8,000.
Yeah. And
Right.
when was this?
2014.
Okay. So
Yeah.
a little bit ago, but not like
A little while
a decade
ago.
or-
But the thing is I don't think I could get that for that money now.
Yeah.
Right? The quality that I got lucky. The quality that I got, the turnaround time that they did, and the car gets compliments all the time. And the paint is showing some wear and tear. Like I am, again, not hyper anal.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't taken the best care of it, but it still looks amazing. And it's very distinctive because it's its own color, right? It's not a normal color.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have like a real sparkle in it, does it?
No,
Yeah.
there's no metallic. It's all pearl,
Yeah.
Bordeaux red,
Yeah.
pearl. So anyway, fast forward to the CRX. Needed to get the CRX painted. That was
Yeah.
2016, right? Went back to the same place. Nope. Because now they had already done their like multiple growth overhead.
They'd scaled. Yeah.
And I'm like, look at guys, this is a small car. I've already got it apart. Like, it's
Please.
ready to go. But this one needs the engine bay. You know, it's just, but the answer was no. And I took that thing many places. And it was no everywhere.
Jesus.
And then finally, I found a custom shop. So that's probably where you want to look,
Yeah.
is for a custom shop, not a body shop.
That's what I kept finding when I was just, you know, because I'm just at the point where I'm like Googling. I don't have the money in hand right now. It's not a priority necessarily, but I'm just kind of like, when I reach that point, what will it be? Because I'm big on like lists and ledgers. I make lists for all the different builds that I do and track all the expenses so that I get an idea of like, well, you know, am I going to completely blow my budget by adding this part, or do I want more wiggle room before I get into something like paint where it's a bit more nebulous, you know? Because there's plenty of parts you can figure out what the MSRP is, and it might creep up a bit over the next few years, but it won't.
Yeah.
It won't like double or triple.
Well, it's hard to know with this business too, because you know the guy that would paint your car, you could figure it out today, and then when you're ready, he's out of business.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
or something.
Or they scale up. and
Or they scale up,
Yeah.
or, you know. So the shop that I ended up taking the CRX to was a custom shop,
Yeah.
local shop, really small place, right? And I had found out after the fact all these details. The owner of the shop, he actually moonlighted or split his time with an actual body shop
Oh.
not far away. So he was really good. You know, he was just running this other shop kind of as a side gig. Like they buy a car at an auction that's been crashed, fix it, flip it.
Gotcha.
Or you know, he would help people fix a car on the cheap. You know, not trying to do insurance jobs. He's just trying to fix cars and make some money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he took my custom job. And actually, he took the job. The car needed to be blocked down, sanded, primered, sanded multiple times to get
Yeah.
it nice and flat.
Smooth, yeah.
But he was pulling on the shop next door, paying those guys cash under the table to work on it. So like,
Okay.
it was kind of a funky gig, you know?
A lot of different hands in that.
It was, but the car turned out really, really nice, right? You know, the story of the paint body on that car is a whole other conversation. But the bottom line of it was, in order to get anybody to do it, it was like, I was having visions of having to do this myself, right? Build a paint booth in my garage and do it. And, you know, interestingly enough, not that long ago, Grassroots Motorsports did a multi-part series on painting your own car, you know?
Because it's just such a pain in the ass. They were like,
Well,
we know there's a market of people that want to do
It costs
this.
a lot of
Yeah.
money, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, people with a race car, they don't necessarily care that
Yeah.
it looks amazing.
Doesn't
Like,
need to be pristine.
yeah, they look
Yeah.
great, blurry, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, and actually I'm kind of toying around with that idea now with this other car that I'm going to be starting. I'm thinking about painting it myself.
The one that we just
Not that one.
No?
No, that
Another one.
That one I think is going to be a donor for this other one. I'm not. I think
Okay.
that car's going to end up getting parted out. But
When I came in here today, Marcus Marcus had the hood up on a 85?
85
CRX,
that
yeah.
SI black.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yes.
That is a rare,
I'm sure it
rarer
is.
car.
I'm sure it is, but yeah, it's like every time I turn around, he's got another car. At least one, maybe two or three.
Half the time you find an 85 SI, it's blue.
Yeah.
Half the
That
rest of the
navy
time
color.
half the rest of the time they're red. Actually, the reds they're mostly blue. I don't know
Yeah.
why there's so many damn blue ones.
Did they make them in like a silver?
1987 was the only year for
Okay,
silver.
yeah.
And that was like a different generation of the car.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also have that 86, the blue 86 HF, which
Okay.
isn't out there right now. I don't know if you've seen that one
I
or
don't
not.
think I have.
I have a blue 86 HF that I bought locally,
Mm-hmm.
and that car had been hanging around in a barn for a while.
Barn find.
Not too many miles, 108K for miles.
That's not much at all.
All the moldings are intact. It doesn't have any body damage. It's like, this is actually a pretty decent little car.
Like a grandma car kind of thing, maybe.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, even the grandmas, I find, that's a grandpa car, and it was not that well taken care
Well,
of.
yeah, I know.
But
there's no guarantees with them. I
there's
know.
no guarantees. Yeah. But ultimately, I'm thinking that I kind of want to get that car running, lightweight, small car, but it's carbureted,
Yeah.
and I want it fuel injected. So
Oh.
that 85 SI has all the fuel injection stuff I need to put on the HF.
Yeah, well, that's what the SI stood for originally, wasn't it? It was sports injection.
Sports injection, yeah. In 1985 was the first year Honda
Yeah.
had fuel
switched
injection.
to
It was the Prelude and the CRX
Yeah.
had gotten fuel injection.
I always love that. I love like all of the old like badging and stuff that used to be something that was like mind bending, you know. DOHC, like boom, like on the side of the
we
car.
got two cans.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't do that now.
No.
You know, it's like I got this TLX Type S, and it's Type S everywhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really say
What does it do?
V6 turbo,
Yeah.
dual overhead cam V6 turbo.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that really have a place
I
on
don't
a
know.
modern car?
Well, that's the question, yeah, because it's like going from carburation to fuel injection. That is significantly different, you know.
Yeah.
But when it's like, oh well, you know, this one's a twin scroll and that one was a single scroll, it's like, yeah, but it's still a turbo, you know. And like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's one of those things where it's like, do we want to sit there with like finger
Yeah,
puppets?
but now we have direct injection.
Yeah, well, that's true. But yeah, direct injection is always like the benefits of that are debatable because the Fiesta that I have now is the first car I've had with direct injection, and you can hear it running constantly, and of course it gums itself up over time, and it's like there's all these extra considerations. It has all these limitations in terms of the fuel and the power that you can make with the fuel because the pump runs out.
It sounds like we've come full circle. Like carburetors
Yeah.
were fixed with fuel injection, and now
Yes.
fuel injection has got so limiting.
Yes, with
Like it's
direct
very
injection.
specific. It has to work a very specific
Yeah.
way that we're back at carburation
Well,
again.
practically- well, you know, I'm almost
And again,
like,
and then it took like a wizard to work on a carburetor.
Yes.
And then fuel injection got so easy, and now
like,
there's so much crap going on. You almost have to be a wizard again.
yeah, it's gone back around. It is bizarre because there's a low pressure fuel system and a high pressure fuel system,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, was adding more stuff necessarily the answer here? Because
Yeah.
I personally, I mean, I've never had a problem with low pressure fuel injection. I've never been like, man, this is bullshit. I hate this. You know? But yeah,
Well, but they do these things because they have to advance
they have to do something.
the car
Yeah.
for better fuel economy, better
Yeah.
cleanliness, and all. This is all leading to the end of fuel, combustion
electric
anyway.
cars. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
That's
So
that's
how to
another
pick a
topic.
body shop? There really just is no. First of all, I would not worry about it until you did have the money
well,
and you
yeah.
were ready. Number
True.
one. Number two, look for custom shops or new shops, like a big shop that maybe seems new,
Yeah,
right? Maybe
yeah.
that luck happened to me because I was just in the right place at the right time. But if I was looking for a body shop and I went there and was like, wow, this place is huge, but they got a lot of empty space, ask them, maybe they'll do it.
Yeah.
You know?
pitch it.
And I paid them cash, so, over time,
Yeah.
I gave them a deposit and
And
then,
then installments when you were done or whatever. or
Yeah.
On the way.
well, I had to pay them to pick up the car, but,
Sure.
it was like, it was incremental. So, that's good pay, I mean,
What's the turnaround time on something like that? Start to finish.
Oh, see, that's the other thing. It can take a bunch of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I drop my TSX off somewhere and they're not too busy and they take it on and they don't think they're going to be busy for the next few weeks, they'll take it on. Then they run into a hurdle, right? And then,
or they get a bunch of insurance
now they
work.
got this big insurance job come through, or they get a new insurance partner and they want to send them 10 cars tomorrow.
They have to say yes.
They can't say no. And so then my car sits.
Yes.
The black car, the CRX, that car went really, really well
And then
up until the point where the first paint cured and there was all these fish eyes in it.
Right.
They had to sand the car and paint it again.
Right.
So I was... That car was supposed to go to SEMA in 2016.
Right, yeah.
But it didn't, partially because I lost the fire because my schedule got all jacked up because the 3-4 week paint job took 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And after all that, it just dried up. It just dried up. So,
I get you.
So yeah, you don't want to be doing this on a car that's your only car, which you wouldn't be. So that's good.
No.
But that's a common theme in car upgrading is like don't screw with your daily car.
Don't f up your daily
don't screw with your daily car, please.
You can do like some
please
bolt-ons.
don't buy some intake manifold crap. Put it on your car. It's not running right, and then you whine to me because it doesn't run right, and you got to get to work on Monday.
You got to take the bus. At the very least, buy an electric bicycle.
Get another car.
Yeah,
like your first mod as a car guy should be a daily beater that
cheap.
you don't mess with.
Yeah, cheap $2,000 car or something like that. Although right now it is really hard to find a $2,000 car that runs.
I don't know. I haven't tried looking.
Circa 2021, it's madness out there. It is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, any other questions on the body shop angle?
I'm trying to think. I mean, so with my car in particular, I'm not totally clear. It's like I almost want like a consultation from somebody because I'm like, is a full paint job the best way to deal with this? You know, because some of the body panels are, they're dull, but I'm like, maybe you could like re-clear coat it instead of doing a full paint job. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about paint. There's some spots where I'm like, you would definitely need at the very least to like sand this
maybe
down,
the first job,
fade it.
Maybe the first thing you need to do is paint restoration or like paint correction, and it's not going to come out tits up, right? All of it. But what might happen is you might find that some of it is better than others, and that guy who does the person who does the paint correction, they're going to measure the thickness of the paint. They'll be able to tell you.
Like if it's toast or not.
Yeah. And I never really have heard of just re-clearing. So if the clear coat is bad, I don't know that I've ever heard of sanding that down and clearing it again.
I had heard the term or the idea originally with the carbon fiber being the topic.
Yeah.
About re-clearing it, like give it a cut it.
Yeah,
and
but see, the only
it.
paint on a carbon panel is the clear coat.
Yeah.
It's the epoxy and then clear on top.
Yeah.
If they've cleared it, which they don't always.
I know.
Right? So if that gets worn down, then you would re-clear it. But a car that's painted, I think you would see paint defects. I think you'd see defects maybe if it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they do it.
I'm hazy, but there's a couple of body panels on it that are like, I'm certain that this is a mess, and you can really tell. The front fender, it's thin paint too. In general, the Mitsubishi paint is just really not good. So tons of little rock chips all over the front of the car where it's like, oh, look, some white plastic, some yellow plastic, and you can see all of the plastic underneath.
Yeah.
The hood has a spot where the clear coat is totally gone. It's a little kind of eyelet thing.
Well, maybe this isn't so bad because my cars that I've had painted have been, the first one was a full color change. The other one was like the same thing. I could have done a color change and you wouldn't know, right? Even more so because I did the engine bay.
Yeah.
I'm
just looking
and it was a two-tone. So like if you are just going to paint it the same color, then maybe you'd be a little bit better off. You still, pull out your door handles and all that stuff. Yeah. Or actually, if you don't do any of that, you can get the car repainted and not spend too much money. It still really depends on how good you want it to be. Like an OEM paint job is pretty in-depth.
Sure. I mean, of course, there's like, and this is one of the things, this is like my whole conundrum is that I'm like, well, I don't know. What is the price on a super in-depth paint job versus a really light paint job, you know? And so the scale of it is hard for me to determine.
And you hear about the Mako,
yeah,
500
bucks.
bucks.
And like, that's not anywhere near what I'm looking at, you know? But it's like, what the hell is the scale and what do you get for it, you know? And so that's why I'm like, I just need to find like a shop or two and be like, what can you do for $8,000?
Yeah.
What can you do for $4,000, you know? And then make my decision from it, because my primary thoughts on the car are to turn it mostly into like a drag car. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing with it. So the paint doesn't need to be perfect, but I also don't want it to be literally just coming off in chunks, you know, which it's getting closer and closer to if I leave it completely untreated. So
maybe a wrap.
I had considered vinyl wrap, but vinyl wrap is like, I don't know, I hear such mixed things about it. I've vinyl wrapped cars and motorcycles before myself, and I'm sure that I could probably take a crack at most of it, but some of the detail stuff, you know.
Well, I would still have somebody do it to have it be good.
And warranty
I think
it.
that this is where you run into your mixed experiences, because did you do it yourself or not? And, you know, you come to find out, if you're going to go wrap a car and get a good job done, it's still a few $1,000s.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Easily.
There's no savings over a good paint job.
Not
and you
much.
still need to have good body underneath,
yes.
too.
Yeah, I would still need to go to a PDR guy and get all the little divots and things taken out, because otherwise, it would, you know, you go, oh, nice vinyl on those divots, you know. Because that's really, like, the divots drive me a bit nuts, but obviously, I just don't want the clear coat to, like, keep spreading, you know. I don't want the whole hood to just get taken over by this patchy, awful clear coat, because it's like, I love this car, and I've spent no small amount of money on it, and by the time I'm done with my, you know, theoretical build, I will have spent considerably more on it. I just don't want it to look like a pile of shit, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
It doesn't need to be a show car.
I would say scrape up like $4,000.
4 to 5, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then try to find
best
outcome. You know, and just drive to a couple of shops and just be like, hey, you know, I've got
this is it.
Tell them, like, I got some dents. You know, no body damage, but like, I got some dents and dings, some chipping paint, clear coat's failing. You know, I need a quote on just you know, exterior paint job.
Alternatively, I had considered, because you know the body parts right now that are showing the most wear, I can easily remove myself. I could take the hood off and strip it down and give it to a paint shop, and I could certainly give them the bumper or buy a new one. And then the rear bumper is the other spot where most of the defects are noticeable. It has a bunch of little bubbles in it. So I'm like, that, you know, it seems like I could accomplish that for $2,000 or less, probably.
Oh, much less, I would think.
Yeah. But there are spots, obviously. If I did that plus PDR plus paint restoration.
Thing is then you're going to have a car that it's going to be a good 10-footer.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so if that's all you're going for, great.
Yeah.
But, you know, you may or may not have the perfect paint match. You may or may not have the right kind of finish.
And when I got my Civic, some asshole carved an Anarchy A into my door of my Civic years ago when I was parking downtown for college. And when I got it fixed, like, it was one of those things where I looked at the door panel. It was kind of my first experience with, like, a bigger paint job. And I was like, it looks great. And then I shut the door. And I'm like, oh, the like size of the glitter is like just a little different. Like the metallic is not the same. It's like close, but you know, when you're within a foot and a half, you're like, this is not the same paint. That's the trick. Yeah. You're like, this is a...
That's where the blending comes in.
Yeah.
But if they get the metallic wrong, there's no recovery. If they get the pearl wrong, it's going to look horrible no matter what. There's different variations of paint colors.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Bordeaux red that my TSX is. I wanted that color, but what I didn't realize was that there's a Bordeaux red that was on the 90 to 93 Accord. And there was a Bordeaux red that was on the 94 to 97 Accord. And then there was a Bordeaux red that was on the 95 to 98 Odyssey. Right? So it was on a few different cars. And in my mind,
you're like, that's
I was the 94 to 97. That's the one I wanted. That's the car that I had in the past that I was trying to like pay homage to.
Gotcha.
And I got the Odyssey one, which is why it looks a little kind of magenta purple every once in a while in different light.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to do that. But I don't know, it adds a little flavor to it. But
Yeah.
case in point, it's because, you could be that color by code, and that'll tell them the whole formula how to make it. But if you don't have the right variation on that color, then it'll be the wrong color, straight up.
Yeah, no doubt.
It'll be the right color.
Yeah, I deal with that a lot in graphic design
Yeah.
too, because you spec a Pantone, and then of course you convert it to CMYK or
Yeah,
RGB,
but then
or
it
whatever.
changes a little bit.
Yeah,
each
and
time.
they're like, no, it's the same thing, and it's like, yes, but hold these two things next to each other.
Yeah.
And you tell me that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not, and
Yeah.
we can both see that, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but ultimately, I am looking for sort of like that 10-footer thing. I think.
Okay.
But of course, it's one of those deals where it's like, well, if a 10-foot repair is $4,000 and a pristine paint job is $6,000, then why the hell wouldn't I just move up the rank if it's double or triple that?
Because you can get a really big turbo for the $2,000 difference.
Yeah, no, trust me. I know.
So that's where you got to go back to what the goal of the car is.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps you under control, right?
Yeah.
And you could say, look at these panels look like ass. Just paint these panels, and then the whole car will not look great, but will not look like ass either, right? And it will be fast, and nobody's going to care.
Yeah, well, speed is certainly the goal with that car.
Well, then I wouldn't spend too much money on a paint job.
True. All right, well, that helps inform me. That helps inform my future mistakes.
There you go. All brought to you, the Corner Club, right?
Yes, yeah.
It's a public service that we're doing.
It is, yeah. Hopefully it's helpful to you guys.
Hopefully that was some helpful information.
And if not, hopefully it was moderately entertaining storytelling.
Yeah. Hopefully it was entertaining.
Yeah, hopefully.
We have yet to find out. Maybe they'll tell us if it's entertaining or not.
Yeah, the one guy that comments.
Yeah, the one guy.
Your mom.
Hey, when you're starting out with one of these things, I think you have to assume that nobody's listening.
Yes.
And that we're just doing this for fun. And this is really a question you had for me anyway, so nothing lost.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, this conversation would have happened anyways, with or without a camera. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So,
all right, cool.
Okay.
Well, we'll...
if you guys have paint questions...
definitely leave them in
whatever.
the comments.
Yeah.
Well, I'll answer them the best I can.
Or experiences.
Or not at all.
I'm
if I don't know
all
the
ears if you have experience,
Yeah.
too. Tell me what you paid for your paint job, because I really don't know what I'm getting into. you
Yeah.
know?